I'm on Wayne Avenue in the Bergen County town of River Edge, where, like many people across New Jersey, residents are unaware of a disturbing fact about their neighborhood. It says no persons of any race other than the Caucasian race shall use or occupy any building or any lot.
In this video, we're diving into the history of racial restrictions that still exist in property deeds, which are legal rules that once divided communities in the United States based on race. We'll also discuss how we can tackle and eliminate these outdated forms of racism today. But first, welcome back to my channel, where I share all the tips and tricks to help you achieve your homeownership goals. If you are new here, please be sure to hit the like and subscribe button for any future videos. Properties most likely to contain racial covenants are typically found in historic neighborhoods and early suburban developments, particularly those established before the Fair Housing Act of 1968. These areas, often in cities with a noted history of segregation, include properties developed between the 1920s and 1940s, aiming to create exclusive communities. Additionally, properties within regions where homeowners associations were active early in the 20th century may also have such covenants. While no longer legally enforceable, these covenants remain a historical reminder of past racial segregation policies, with ongoing efforts to identify and disavow them in many communities.
It's incredible.
These homes, including Suzanne Lyons' home, were built decades ago for white people only. A clause that reads, "No person of any race other than the Caucasian race shall use or occupy any building or lot." There's an exception only for domestic servants.
I would like to say I'm really surprised, but in fact, I'm probably not that surprised.
Maria Doherty is half Irish, half Filipino. Her husband is black. She took in the news that her family would not have been allowed to live in her home when it was first built.
Like seeing that and knowing that, we live here now, I think it's, we've come a long way, right?
Such covenants were struck down by a Supreme Court decision in 1948. But by then, Laura Sullivan with the New Jersey Institute for Social Justice says these practices, along with redlining by banks and other policies, had taken their toll.
That it's really important that people know that our policies have helped predominantly white families build wealth, while creating barriers to those same opportunities for Black families and other families of color.
Across broad swaths of suburban New Jersey, Black families were locked out of that source of wealth, a prime reason why today the median net worth for Black families is just $6,000 compared to $300,000 for white families.
And the policies that we had 20 years ago, 50 years ago, 100 years ago, about going back to the foundation of our state with slavery, are still having impacts.
So, for Black History Month, a reminder from the forgotten pages of the past of how that shameful history continues to echo forth today.
Stroll down New Kent Highway and you'll see the Vaden Inn. But take a scroll down Airbnb and you won't see the Vaden Inn at all.
Some places, such as Airbnb, a platform for short-term rentals, have taken extra measures to ensure all its guests are treated equally. While Airbnb does not enforce racial covenants, historical legal agreements that prevented people of certain races from buying or occupying properties, the legacy of such covenants may still influence the demographics of neighborhoods and who feels welcome in certain areas. Despite these covenants being illegal and unenforceable since the mid-20th century, their lingering effects can impact Airbnb listing availability. The platform has faced challenges with discrimination, leading to reports of racial bias from both guests and hosts. In response, Airbnb has introduced measures to combat discrimination, including implementing a non-discrimination policy, reducing the visibility of guest profile photos, and encouraging diversity and inclusion among its listings. This effort by Airbnb to address discrimination reflects a broader attempt to navigate and rectify the lasting impacts of historical segregation practices in contemporary housing markets, aiming to ensure equitable access to accommodations for users of all races.
I really like old architecture.
Owner Jessica Angel had listed with Airbnb ever since she and her mother bought the place in 2017.
I listed as soon as the doors were open.
And then the popular website called her last June.
If you look at census records, there is evidence that enslaved people both lived and worked on the property.
And that violated Airbnb's policy. No more listing on Airbnb. They had written her off.
But it is definitely not true that my house was part of this plantation, as they say, that it was part of. It was not true.
Bookings started falling.
And I had to explain to them what happened, and I had to kind of reassure them that we are 100% inclusive, and we aren't like that, and we have nothing to do with these allegations.
And Angel knows about inclusivity. The Vaden Inn is an LGBTQ business.
I'm all about inclusion and equal rights. So it shocked me when she had said that they were going to remove my listing because it violated their new policy.
To determine if your property has racial covenants, you should start by examining the property deed and any related documents for any mention of such restrictions. If this initial check doesn't yield results, visit your local county recorder's office or their online portal to search for the original deed and subsequent documents that might contain covenants. Researching local history through historical societies, libraries, or online databases can also provide insights into areas historically affected. For those who find this process challenging, consulting with legal aid organizations, housing rights groups, or hiring a professional such as a real estate attorney or a title company can offer expertise in identifying restrictive covenants. Although racial covenants are no longer legally enforceable, understanding your property's history is important, and some jurisdictions allow homeowners to formally disavow these covenants through legal mechanisms.